Thousand Speakers Academy. Good morning. This is Rob the Warrior Strategist. For those of you guys that don't know me, I'm a friend of Manny's, and I was a guest at his event last year. And I talked to him yesterday, and he said, "You know what, Rob? I want you to go in. I want you to give some guest training about how to find speaking appearances and where you located some of your locations for your speaking." I'm the owner of Shift Advanced Life Design Magazine. I'm a PhD, 8-time author, speaker, and dual entrepreneur out of San Diego, California. Currently, I'm coming to you from Eureka, California, in my sister's house, coming back from a 6-month deployment, being awesome for the Air Force. So today, I want to tell you about some of the tips I did to accelerate my speaking career and how I got a bunch of appearances that led to better marketing, led to better photos, and got me practice as a speaker and taken seriously for my presentations. I'm going to offer you some insider tips. I'm going to offer you a fast way to locate speaking gigs, and then early stage ideas. So this isn't for the super, I'm making a ton of money and I'm being featured all over the world type of speaker. This is more for the entrepreneur that wants to use speaking and is kind of putting their toe in the water, early stage to middle stage, just to get some stage time and to get used to speaking in front of people and to perfect your presentation. I was very lucky because early on in my life, I was a high school teacher, and then I became a program manager for the Air Force, and I needed to speak in front of people every single month. And when I was a teacher, I was speaking every single day. So I got over my stage fright very, very quickly. So one thing I suggest for you guys, if you want to incorporate speaking as a business person, is to knock out a bunch of appearances just to get used to being in front of people, learning how to interact with your audience, and learning your presentation, the highs, the lows, the emotions, what parts make people laugh, what parts connect, and understanding how to build that rapport with your audience. So with that, I'm going to talk about some of the ways that I got my first, we'll say, 6 speaking gigs. Early stage, you're still going to be figuring out what your presentation is. You're going to be figuring out who you are. And so it's good to use certain types of venues. The first 3 that I really focused on was schools, churches, and nonprofits. Schools are the highest chance you'll get of a paid gig right off the bat, because don't forget, a lot of schools have a budget for speakers and for events, cultural stuff, entertainment, especially colleges. So schools are an amazing way to fast track your way into a presentation and possibly get paid for it. At the beginning, I offered my services for free. Some people will tell you to charge. Some people will tell you to do it for free until you feel confident at it. But there's a lot of opportunities out there for schools. So you have high schools, charter schools, colleges, vocational schools, a lot of opportunities. Looks like Josh Costner's here. Hey, buddy. Great to see you. I'm just giving some tips on how to get some speaking gigs going. Schools are where I had my greatest successes. So I spoke in junior colleges, high schools, vocational schools. I made a presentation, and I talked about my own subject, which is speed learning. I teach students how to learn stuff faster, and especially using elements from my own life. Coming from a guy that has a learning disability, that failed out of high school and 2 colleges and went on to get a PhD, doctorate in education, which is ironic as hell. But I go through my own struggles, and so the students feel a rapport with me, so schools are a natural fit for me. Schools are a great way to advance your speaking career. They're very judgment-free, so you don't have to feel nervous. I know sometimes for some corporate gigs, they're very, very stress-inducing. Schools are a nice low-stress way to dip your toe in the water and get going. Next will be churches and faith-based organizations. All you have to do is reach out to them, and they have a lot of people that would love to hear your story and hear your presentation. Josh says, "I'm speaking at a local high school for the upcoming Veterans Day." That's awesome. Good job, man. You're a great person to be speaking to young people, so that's cool. And next is nonprofits or veterans groups. Nonprofits are awesome. They don't always pay. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it's, once again, great OJT, great thing to put on your resume. Great for you to get a sizzle reel or to have people take pictures of you and to get that credibility for moving forward with your speaking career, and nonprofits are everywhere. So now that we've talked about some of the places you can go, we've talked about schools, churches, nonprofits, let's talk about the types of presentations you can do. Now, this is really Manny's gig, so I'm just kind of offering my own techniques, but obviously Manny's the expert here, and he's taught me a lot of stuff. Some of the things that I've done and some of the different types of presentations you can give when you're early stage, just getting started, is your life story, okay? I grew up in a family full of drugs and alcohol. I had a learning disability. I failed out of a bunch of schools, and at 19, I was sleeping on the floor, couldn't afford meat. Today, I own 2 companies. I've been on Fox 3 times. I've written 8 books. I have a PhD, blah, blah, blah. But I talk about the transitional period between the awful point of my life to the great point of my life and where it's at now. A lot of people are fascinated in that story. They find it inspiring, and it's a good way to build rapport with them and credibility as an expert. So you can talk about your life story, like a transitional period. You can talk about an achievement that you've done. Have you written a book? Have you created a program? Have you done something amazing in your life? You can build a presentation around that. Annie Poole, hey, good morning. Just going over some speaking stuff. Next, you can offer a training. If you have a hard skill, if you know how to do something, if you have shortcuts, teaching valuable, training in a certain field, you're the expert, create a presentation around it. For example, I'm an expert at speed learning. I wrote a book about 16 ways to learn anything faster, and I offer trainings. When I speak in schools, I usually incorporate speed learning plus education. So I teach people how to learn stuff faster and how to dominate their papers in high school or college. So that's why I get speaking gigs. So those are a few things you can do to create your ultimate presentation in these venues. So now what I'm going to talk about, if you guys have any questions, feel free to jump in and I'll catch the replay and I'll be sure and respond to everybody. One of the best ways I've found, okay, we talked about trying to find spots for your early stage speaking gigs, so schools, churches, nonprofits, and I'm going to give you guys a very insider tip. This is like client level tip, but Manny's a good friend and I like to hook people up. So the fastest way to find your speaking gigs in one centralized free website, ready for this? Google Maps. Seriously. All you have to do, if you look, because obviously you're looking for schools, churches, or nonprofits, bring up Google Maps, type in schools in your zip code, type in churches in your zip code, or faith-based organizations, or type in nonprofits and your zip code. Google Maps will populate. Bap, 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 bap. Every red dot is an opportunity to speak. And then all you have to do is reach out to them, make a phone call, email the director, whoever's in charge. There you go. All right, guys. So I'm going to wrap up. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And just to summarize what we talked about today, the main places to get early stage speaking gigs are going to be schools, churches, nonprofits. With schools, you can go high schools, charters, colleges, vocational schools. Your presentation can be around a life story. It can be an achievement that you've completed, or it can be some type of hard skill training where you actually teach the audience how to do something. And the fastest way to locate these speaking gigs quickly in one area, Google Maps, and then just use the search engine plus your zip code. I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to my little presentation here in 1000 Speakers Academy with Manny Wolf. I want to thank Manny for this opportunity to educate you guys and share some stuff that I've used in order to secure a lot of speaking gigs. If you need anything, feel free to reach out to me or PM me on Facebook. This is Rob the Warrior Strategist. Have a great day.